Welcome to Friends with God. I'm Joe, just your average Joe. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a theologian. I'm simply someone who spent the last 25 years exploring faith, mindfulness, spirituality, and the teachings of Jesus. I grew up Catholic, and then we became evangelical Christians. Then life led me through meditation, yoga, and mindfulness. And somehow through all of that, I found myself coming back to Jesus. Not because I suddenly had all of the answers, but because I finally became comfortable asking better questions and exploring the teachings of Jesus for myself. One lesson that stayed with me through every season of life is we learn something most deeply when we try to teach it. And that's what this podcast is. Every week I'm opening up the Bible, reading a chapter, sometimes one verse, and simply sharing what stands out to me. Sometimes it may feel like a Bible study. Sometimes it might feel like sitting quietly with a single verse, the same way someone might sit with a meaningful quote or an oracle card, allowing it to speak into the moment. I don't expect you to agree with everything that I say. In fact, I'd rather we stay curious together. So pull up a chair, grab a cup of coffee, open your Bible, and let's spend a few minutes becoming friends with God, one day at a time. Welcome to Friends with God. I'm Joe. Thanks for being here. Really quick, before we dive into this week's series where we are exploring John chapter 14, as I've been planning this new show out, I've been noticing a lot of things pop up. And I want to flow with this show the same way I flowed with Inspire, Create, Manifest, the same way I flowed with the Daily Shot of Inspiration. And that is when I feel the spark of inspiration, when I see that synchronicity, when something speaks to me that I want to dive into and explore, I'm going to allow that inspiration to be shared here in this way. So we can all go on this journey together. And maybe I'm receiving that spark of information because it's something I'm supposed to be talking about. And one thing I want to address as we move through the show, as I've been seeing these synchronicities and these signs show up along the way, was an interesting post that somebody put out about doing a study, a connection between Kundalini Yoga and Jesus and evangelical Christians and the highway between them all, because they've been noticing people that have practiced Kundalini Yoga come to connect with Jesus. And when I saw that, I definitely felt all of the, I want to say, resentment that was coming through in that post. Like there was something wrong with people moving from Kundalini to Jesus. But the thing I've noticed in teaching Kundalini Yoga for the last 20 years, and I will continue to teach Kundalini Yoga as long as I can, is the strong connection to God within that practice. Everything is connected to God. Everything that I've ever learned through the practice of Kundalini Yoga was to teach all of us how to remember that we are always connected to God, that there's no separation between us and God. And guess who else was trying to tell us that same message? Jesus. Yeah, Jesus was trying to tell us that he was the direct connect to God, and that we're all the same. And if you follow Jesus, you follow God. If you're connected to Jesus, you're connected to God, because God is within Jesus. Jesus is within God. God and Jesus are within all of us. Same exact teachings of Kundalini Yoga. Literally the same exact thing. So for the people that are out there that are saying, how is this happening? Why is this happening? It's the practice that is allowing it to happen, because when you start realizing that there is no separation, you also start realizing the roads that connect us to those connections. And that's what we're here for. We're here to explore. We're here to go on our own journey so that you can create a friendship with God. So I can create a friendship with God. And as I've been going through this phase of life that I'm currently in, I was listening to a wonderful podcast, and the host of the show said, if you want to talk to God, if you want to hear God, then spend time with God. And then she went on to say, how do we spend time with God? By simply connecting to what Jesus was saying. Open up your Bible, and what did God say? Do some reading. See what comes through. But the only way you're going to connect and build the friendship is by creating a friendship. So how can we create a friendship? By reading and listening to the words for ourselves and interpreting them for ourselves and creating that relationship. You want to talk to God, connect with God, read what God had to say. Now that that's out of the way, we're going to jump into the first episode where we're exploring John chapter 14. We're going to be here Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and we're going to break apart this whole chapter over the next couple of days, and we're starting with John verse 1 through 4. And the reason why we're doing this and going here is because I got the spark of inspiration. I saw someone in a YouTube video or maybe a TikTok saying that if you really want to create a friendship and an understanding of God and Jesus, explore John chapter 14, 15, and 16. And I took that as the first spark of inspiration of this is where we're going to go with the start of the show. This is what we're going to create our foundation with. Again, just following the synchronicities, following the signs. And in doing so, it has been such a benefit to me and my life with everything that's currently going on in my situation. Unfortunately, my sweet sister Mary Lou is on hospice. She's been battling cancer for the last couple of years, and we are on our end phase of that journey. And it's sad, and it's troubling. And as I started exploring John 14, what does Jesus start with? What is Jesus telling us? Well, to get a good look at this, let's first jump back really quick to John chapter 13. And in John 13, it is at the Last Supper, and he's letting his disciples know what's going on. So as we move into John 14, he sees the trouble in their face. And this is what Jesus said. This is from the New International Version. Jesus comforts his disciples. Don't let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I'm going to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. You know the way to the place where I am going. Now, in these first 4 verses, Jesus is telling us, yeah, there are troubling times coming. My family is currently sitting in a lot of troubling times. And more troubling times were just introduced last night with another family member. And as I sit in this space of my human mind not being able to comprehend, why is this happening? Why? Why would this stuff be happening right now? Well, all I can do is come back to this simple statement that Jesus says, do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. And when we do that, he is telling us that even though we can't comprehend why these troubling things are happening, there is a lesson to be learned. And we've all signed up to walk this path. We agreed to this life before we plopped down onto this planet. We incarnated at this present moment in time to learn the lessons that our soul wanted and needed to learn here in Earth School. And if we can follow these simple instructions that Jesus gives us, and as we go through John chapter 14, I feel it is an overview of everything that Jesus taught his disciples over the couple of years that he was with them. So Jesus starts by speaking to our hearts before he starts speaking to our minds. He's trying to comfort us in a way to let us know that you might not understand, but trust. Trust me, believe in me, you believe in God, you believe in me also. Just trust. Give the worries, give the fears, give it all to God. And just trust. Lean on God and just trust that I might not know the reasons or the causes or the understanding of anything ever. All I can do is trust and have faith that what is happening is supposed to happen. So I invite all of you, as we move through this chapter, as we move through this connection with developing our own relationship with God and with Jesus and just walking our path, take a moment and ask yourself, what's troubling my heart today? What's troubling me today? And can you give it to God? Can you give it to God? Can you say, God, take this? I don't know why it's happening, but it's happening. You understand the reasons and the lessons that are supposed to be learned. I'm going to give my trouble to you. And in bringing this all back around to my Kundalini Yoga background, I always come back to this mantra that I learned in Kundalini, Dukkha Parhar. Dukkha Parhar, sure, different language, Guru Mukhi, might sound scary in the Christian world. All Dukkha Parhar simply means is give your pain to God and take home peace. Give your pain to God and take home peace. Do not let your hearts be troubled. So whatever might be troubling you today, whatever might be troubling your family, whatever worries you may have, I'm not asking you to be delusional. What I am asking you to do is give that trouble back to God so I may take home peace. Every night before I go to bed, I say a simple prayer. God, take what I am not supposed to be holding on to so I may rest tonight. May we do that every day. God, take what I am not supposed to be carrying through this day today so I can flow with grace and ease. So my human form can be okay with the master plan that I cannot comprehend. Thanks for being here, my friends. Like, subscribe, follow, share, do all those good things. And we'll be back here on Wednesday exploring John chapter 5 through 14. I'm the way. So let us all find our own way. Give that pain to God, take home peace, and find your journey walking with God. Thanks so much for spending a few minutes with me today. As you go back into your day, don't worry about having everything figured out. Just carry one thought, one verse, or one question with you and let God meet you there. If today's conversation encouraged you, I'd love for you to follow the show, share it with someone who might need a reminder that they don't have to walk alone. Until next time, my friends, keep showing up, keep listening, and keep becoming a friend of God one day at a time.